to another episode of Dear One. What's funny?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you again for being with us, and um, thank you again for joining us from the comfort of your home and what have you. And yeah, we pleased to come your way again. Yeah.
Not being sarcastic.
Okay. So um, again, we happy. We're happy to be here. So you want to go out there and inform family and friends that
Again.
yeah, that it's time for DF1 and share the feed as well, so um, as many people as possible can join in to the program. Yeah, so today, and let me just remind you, um, if you have any topics you think you want us to discuss on DFLAN, just go out there and shoot us um, a message, shoot us a DM, and we would make time to discuss it. It's always good to have topics from, I mean, all walks of life, from all different relationships, and yeah, we get um, to discuss it and also hear what people's views are on whichever topic it is that you should across. Yeah, so today we're discussing a rather interesting topic, and thank you to the one who asked us to discuss that topic. It's I think it's a very good one, and it's going to be a good learning curve for all of us. So we discussing physical separation in marriages, physical separation, and basically you would expect that when people are married, they would be staying together as husband and wife. If you remember, there was a time we even discussed about people sleeping in different bedrooms, and we thought that that was that wasn't good enough. And so today's topic would be a more advanced um, type of that discussion, or a more advanced extension of that discussion. So, yeah, let us know what you think about the topic. Join us, and um, yeah, we'll take it from there. Now, life is such that things don't usually happen as expected. I mean, sometimes you'd expect that you add A to B together, and then that will be life, or you add one plus one and it will give you two. But life is not black and white, right? There are different shades of gray in there, and so there are a lot of reasons why people end up not being together as husband and wife. And so we're going to delve into that. We're going to delve into what the implication is, what the consequences of living apart is to the marriage, and so on and so forth. We'll not be able to make do justice to all that, but we'll try and break it into different episodes. So yeah, Prissy, when it comes to separation, I believe that there would be different. It's not like one size fits all. I believe there are different types of separation that people face as married couples. What do you think about that?
Yeah. So I want to use the term long distance marriage. And I think it would hit home
Oh,
at it's
oh,
easier for us to understand. So you
okay,
are married and you are living apart,
okay,
right?
yeah,
And
correct.
so there are some of these distances where one person, let's say we live in the same country,
Mm-hmm.
so anytime I want, I could um, pick a car
Yeah,
and come and see my spouse.
yeah,
sometimes because of visa barriers and all that, one person cannot travel to see the spouse, and so that makes it a bit will I say it's difficult because only one
Yeah,
person needs to go and come. There are some situations where none of them can also move. There are people who have been married for close to like 20 years, and maybe one person went to travel to another country, and because of immigration issues and sorting of papers, he or she cannot move, and neither can the spouse also move to. So it's more or less like a relationship online, or a marriage online.
okay.
Yeah, so I think those are the the various situations one can find themselves in.
Right. Because I mean, we are in an era where people do remote work, and so yeah, so people have remote marriages as well, right? Now, if we take all those situations you outlined, it looks like there are some that are more difficult to handle than the others, right? Because if you are in the same country, then chances are that you can actually decide when you want to see your spouse, right? As against someone who is restricted not just by geography, but by rules and invisible boundaries and all. And you need to go through a visa process, blah, 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 to be approved before you can actually get to see your spouse, which I think is more of a difficult or a more tough situation, right?
Yeah.
So basically, as we discuss this, we might try to put everything in context because what applies to one of the parties might not necessarily apply to the other party, although they are all having remote or internet marriage, right? Now, let's take first of all finances. Let's delve into how it affects finances. Now, depending on how the couple or the partners structure their marriages, you have a situation where instead of maintaining one home, you end up maintaining two homes or multiple homes, right? Because you can have a situation where um, you pay, let's assume you rent, I mean, in both places. It means you paying rent for two different homes, you're paying electricity bills for two different homes, basics like internet for two different homes, water bills, like almost everything.
Yeah.
So it clearly puts a
Expensive.
lot of stress on finances. I mean, just right off um, the bat, you are actually paying twice as much as you should. I mean, pay for keeping your home. So, what other things, Prissy, do you think it might lead to? I mean, in terms of finances, like
Yeah,
this,
so traveling costs.
right?
And so if you have to travel all the time,
Yeah.
occasionally to see your spouse,
Hmm.
it's expensive. And yeah, and then maybe the cost of communication.
Okay.
Because you would, if you are staying with your spouse, you don't need to get internet connection or is there a time
Yeah. Correct.
to make calls. You
Yeah.
just meet your spouse at home, you talk before they leave. Yeah, so those are some of the expenses. And then if you have to have a car, maybe if you are both in the same city or something, you can use one car. But if you are living separately, then you have to get two cars, pay two insurance,
Yeah.
everything to double. So it's very expensive.
And especially depending on where each party is, these could be pretty much substantial, right? And
Yeah.
so this is a real big issue. Now, think about things like food. What it means is that instead of buying groceries, I mean, just one, and if what it is that if you are alone, depending on how, I mean, you're spending and everything, right? You no, let me put it this way. If you are together with your spouse, it is assumed that you might not necessarily consume twice, like as much as you would consume. I mean, if you are alone, right? Because sometimes, let's say that you go to an eatery or a restaurant, whatever you would buy would be one meal. If you are together, probably you buy one, you have some spare, blah blah blah, and all. It's easier to buy in bulk. It's cheaper to buy in bulk, right? And have a family feast on as compared to having one person each doing justice to that. And so, yeah, when it comes to finances, that is a real big deal. Now, Prissy, you mentioned transportation. I would mention transportation in a different light, right? Sometimes when you are together, depending on the kind of rounds you make, even going to your workplace, sometimes you are going along the same route. You can decide to drive the same car. You're going out on a weekend, it's very likely all of you would be going the same direction, and then you go ahead and same way, driving the same car. If you do the unit economics, if you're staying alone, every single move you make is with a different car. Your spouse uses a different car. Like all these things add up to make to make your finances or your expenses go up, right? And so these are really tough situations, and it is also quite difficult trying to keep spending within a certain limit, right? Because one person, let's say, it's working somewhere, the other one is working elsewhere. The dynamics of the different economies might be might be worlds apart, right? And so you trying to say, okay, at least in a month you're trying to save a certain amount, but if you put it in that person, let's say in a developed economy, blah blah blah, that amount really is the person's gas money or something, right? So it really makes planning as well pretty tough. And so I would say that it is not a so nice situation to find yourself in. It's not the ideal situation you want to find yourself in. It should, it might be due to different reasons, but ideally the couple should work at getting that period over as soon as possible, right? Because some of them, let's also say, some of them are within the control of the couple. Some of them are not within the control. So what do I mean? So if it is because of a job that is somewhere, then you have a choice to get a different job, right? But if, like we discussed earlier, the geographic limitation, blah, 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 comes in and there are visa issues, then sometimes it's really out of their control. You can say it's within your control. You can leave whichever country and come home and you won't go again. It's fine. But then, all things being equal, that makes the future a bit bleak, right? So in trying to build a better future for your family, for your children and all, then you would say that, okay, that one is sort of out of your control. I mean, until you can get all your visa situation sorted out, and then you can go back to your family. So that is the financial part. That is really a tough one, right? So, for example, so myself and Prissy, we are in different states, okay? Because Prissy is schooling. She has to finish school, right? And so it's out of our control, maybe. So, but in terms of traveling around, because of course, if she goes to school, wouldn't want to go a whole semester or something without seeing her. So traveling around is money, right? It's a lot. In our case, because she would need to drive to the airport, park her car there. If she is coming for a month, park her car there for a month. Every day she has to pay for keeping the car. I mean, parking the car at the airport, all the flight costs, and so on and so forth. Right. So it's definitely puts a certain pressure on finances. Same way when I'm traveling there, I do the opposite. Go park at my airport, fly there, and she needs to come pick me at the airport. It's unnecessary cost you could money you could actually push to something else. I'll go get some food and eat, and then you'll be happy, right? Okay, so that is in terms of finances. Now let's take the emotional part. Prissy, what would you say about that?
Okay, so for emotional, I feel that there are good sides and like the downsides too.
Okay.
So you know that when you stay together for so long and you never get apart, you get so familiar with each other that you take each other for granted.
Right.
And so when you are staying apart, you get to understand what your partner means to you. Because you are not always together, you now understand the physical benefit that your partner is to you. So I think sometimes, for me, I feel that it helps to minimize conflicts when you are apart, because most of the time you are looking forward to when you can go and visit your partner instead, and use the time for something beneficial. It's not about conflict. And so so being apart sometimes can help. If you are in a marriage that you realize that of late there's too much conflict, I think one of you should take a trip away for a while, and that can probably resolve something. But then
so you rather advocating for people
yes,
to go
I
apart?
feel that sometimes, yeah, because sometimes there's too much familiarity, and people easily
sometimes gives exposure to people getting involved in a whole lot.
No, so I believe that, like you said, people getting involved in a whole lot. You can be under one roof with somebody, and if the person wants to get involved in a whole lot, will still do. So for partners that are having like conflict issues because they feel that they are so used to each other, and I think once in a while they should take a break and reflect. It makes them, and maybe you have a partner who changes your car tires for you when your car breaks down and all that. I want to use this example. So sometimes you have widows or widowers that are interviewed, and they will tell you that they wish they had changed, they had appreciated more what their spouses did for them earlier, because it's upon losing their spouses that they realize all the things they were getting from their spouses. So I believe that the spouse, one person being away sometimes, gives you that opportunity to reflect and understand all the benefits you are getting from that person. So,
but does the person need to be away before you actually think through?
No, some people do not realize it until the person is not around, because it becomes normal. You know, when you get things all the time, it's for you, you feel that, okay, it's my due, this is normal. I don't see what my spouse is doing for me. I can complain because I see it all the time. I assume that it's supposed to be something everybody does. But once the person is no longer around, and whatever you are getting ceases, even that emotional support, the emotional support you get from your spouse when they are around.
Okay.
And so I also believe that sometimes it adds spice to life. If you see somebody every day.
No, so practically, how would people approach this? How would people create like an artificial separation? How do they do
you can
that?
You can take a maybe a retreat, maybe a 1 week retreat somewhere, go and sit somewhere.
Okay.
If
So
it's even if you get the opportunity to travel outside or somewhere, you can. You know, when you come back, it's a different situation. You see that your spouse is yearning for you to come back. Oh, I've missed you. When are you coming back?
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my mind around this new theory. So one person should find a way to what take
For me, I feel that if there's an opportunity once a while, it is not everybody that will get the opportunity, but once a while, you should stay apart. That condition is to people who like fighting, like always there's conflict at home. And it means familiarity has set in.
Okay.
So they need to be apart. It's not for people who don't fight a lot. But
so how long do you recommend?
I don't know, but for me, for me, I feel that being away from my spouse has helped me realize all the benefits, because for me, since year 1 of marriage, we started living apart because of work and other reasons.
Right.
And so it's really helps. Yeah, and then it also builds your communication skills.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you are living apart, there are some things that you shouldn't even be communicating over phone and all that to your partner when they are not around. It makes you.
I didn't get that.
If your partner is not around, let's say there's an event or something happening at home.
Okay.
And the person is overseas.
Okay.
And you know that the person not being around, when you tell the person, might give the person unnecessary stress.
Okay.
There are some things you cannot communicate to the person outside.
It's not
like when the person is around.
People communicate it always. They don't even care about how the partner would react to it, or they just say whatever they want to say.
I don't know, but there's a way to communicate to somebody who is not around a situation to not make the person stress.
No, I get what you're trying to say, but what I'm saying is that for people staying apart doesn't necessarily mean that the parties will know how to communicate, how to do long distance communication. Like, for example, someone has passed and you have to communicate it to your spouse that is not right by you. There is a way you go about it. What I'm saying is that the fact that they are not together doesn't mean that people learn to do it anyway.
I get your point, but I'm saying that it also helps to communicate too, because most of your conversation will not just be due to physical whatever. You have to express love over phone and all that, so you know how to communicate your love than because you not be there to even see the person's how do you call it, body gestures and all that. Yeah, so you learn to do most of the things over phone.
But if he's speaking on FaceTime or something, or video call, and you see my non-verbal cues, you see the expression of the face, it will still clearly, you see the face, it will still clearly communicate to you that I'm not interested in whatever you're saying, right?
Or maybe some communicate via text message because of the sort of work the partner is doing. It's not everybody that's able to do online, and even because of differences in time. I can send you something over text, and then maybe I'll go and sleep. Then you wake up in the morning and see the text message, and then you also respond. And so in such instances, you don't see all those
non-verbal cues, and that actually makes communication difficult. It
makes it difficult, I understand, but I know it makes it difficult, but you also learn to communicate better with the person, because you will not just send anything to how do you call it, miscommunicate.
Yeah.
You don't want there to be any miscommunication.
Right.
You get, because there's no way the person can come back to you and like at home and ask you that, okay, and what did you mean by this text message you sent or something? You get it? So I believe that sometimes
I feel you are really seeing a lot of positives to it, but with all the positives you are seeing, I rather see
negative.
Exactly, because you see, the reason why people would have communication breakdown is because sending SMS is a skill that needs to be learned. The way you send messages on SMS, because the person cannot see your facial expression and cannot really tell what do you mean by, I mean, the person is just supposed to read those letters or those words and try to figure out what your mood is. And it really gets difficult. So it rather breeds a lot of misunderstanding, because someone might be saying something, and because of the way the person just put it, it sounds.
I understand.
Yeah,
I understand. So there's communication issues, but you can learn through that communication issues how to communicate better.
Yeah. So I get your level of optimism, but what I think is that people don't necessarily learn from such things. You get what I mean? So think about it. One spouse sends the other one a text message. The other spouse gets angry. Why do you send me such a text message? If there is no further communication to explain why that thing is offensive, the other person will say, but what kind of, I mean, you have an attitude, blah, 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 blah. It would have led to a breakdown of communication. It wouldn't necessarily have led to learning. You get what I mean? And ladies and gentlemen, let's know what you think about this. Unfortunately, I'm having issues logging in on the tablet, and so I'm not able to see all your messages, all your comments and all. But we'll go back after this and then discuss that on the next episode. So, Prissy, what I'm saying is that, I think you've brought out a lot of positivity about the whole situation. The fact that, I mean, if you is someone who is getting familiar with your spouse, it triggers a sense of you get to miss your spouse and stuff that your spouse does for you, stuff that you never even thought about. It sounded so trivial, but when you have to do it, then you see that, it's no joke after all,
not easy,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Those are very positive stuff, right? And the fact that it helps you learn how to communicate in maybe an entirely different way, right, than what you used to. That's right. But from what I am seeing, those could actually be negatives, right? So, okay, in terms of the communication, if you are not able to communicate well or put your words together well, blah, 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 it triggers a whole lot of stuff as well. Sometimes you would be in a certain situation and that would make you send a certain message. If the person were to be with you, the person will know what exactly the surrounding conditions are, right? But if the person is not there and just sees the message, then the person now has to play God and understand what situation you are in, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. Like, yeah, let's say that you are smiling, you are happy, you are seeing something on television, and you type, "Oh my God," right? The person who is sitting somewhere would think that there is a problem, and will go like, "Oh, what is it?" You get what I mean?
I get it.
you are really happy and you are typing that, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's a two-way street. It's a double-edged, and hopefully next week we'll really delve into that, and hopefully we'll have input from our viewers as well. All too soon, it's time. I don't know where the time went, right? But all too soon, it's time to draw down the curtains on today's episode. But we just scratched the surface of this topic. We'll really delve into it, and then also take your input. Thanks for being with us again, and always remember that no two relationships are the same. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Maybe we go.